front of me. I was at a game preserve, and I told him, I really want to get next to an elephant. Well, you got to go off on a safari. Not a safari, but you got to go into the woods. He says, well, yeah, there's one right around the bend there. And they're all sitting there watching me. I can walk around the bend, and there's this enormous elephant chained, one leg chained to this pillar, this concrete pillar, and he was bleeding all the way around. And when I came around the corner, he was mad. He came at me. I was 100, 150 away. It really startled me, and they got such a laugh out of that.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was asking a stupid question, and I got a stupid answer.
Yeah, where's PETA when you need him?
Yeah.
So
I think he was, they had, in all honesty, it was humanitarian. He had a problem. I don't remember what it was, and they were going to sedate him and take care of it. And they just had, or they had already done it. I don't know. It wasn't what you'd think. They didn't eat him. Let's put it that way.
Right. Well, I hate to say, what do we miss? But what do we miss? What else? What other stories do you have? You know better than we do.
Yeah, I think we're. Sorry.
I think you cut out a little bit. We're about there. You want to do some listener questions?
Are you talking to Mike or to me?
I'm talking to you.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
All right, give me a second. Let's load those up here.
I didn't know there were going to be listener questions.
Yeah, neither did I. I guess so many people are listening.
Well, warn me if one's from Lowell.
No, wait. I wouldn't take that question. Questions.
Well, one of the questions doesn't really have to deal with traveling, but one of them, when you touched on how the gas prices fluctuate, one of the questions was why is gas prices going up so much, and what would be that reasoning behind it? So what's your opinion as to why gas prices today are starting to go up?
Well, it is an opinion because I'm not involved in that part of the business, but it has a lot to do with demand and volume. We've just gone through a period in the last few years where there wasn't a lot of supply. The supply was down, and you could blame the loss in Iraq. You can blame the loss in other areas to cause the supply. When the supply goes down, well, obviously, the prices put down, but that's about to change. We're getting near a glut area now. I think you're going to see the price of barrels go up again, and I think we're going to see a price increase, getting back to more of a normal area where it should be. But there was a disruption there for 3 or 4 years that I think has corrected itself.
A lot of it is seasonal too, right? We're coming into the summer months. People are going to the beach and people are traveling, and is that not the case?
Well, it is the case with regard to demand. We obviously the demand will go up, or I think even more importantly, your point, the further supports your point. In the east, when it's cold, the demand for home heating oil goes up.
Right.
So, if there's a supply, then it can be, then the price can be leveled off. I know a lot of people think it's a conspiracy. I don't think so. It's a lot of money to explore, to drill, to produce, to refine, to transport and deliver.
Right.
When you consider that an entire barrel of 55 gallons of crude oil, I think is cheap.
Yeah.
But it's got a long way to go before it gets to your tank. And the regulations are everywhere. Not good or bad, they just are. So I hope that answers this question. I think you're going to see a rise in prices shortly.
I hope not. Got another one?
Let's see, let me check all of our... And then one more is, I believe you touched on this, but they might not have been listening at this point, but your favorite place that you went to, even if you didn't talk about it.
Okay, well, certainly my favorite place in the world is New York City, but Singapore is someplace I recommend every American, if you get a chance to go to Singapore. If you want to see an old location, to deal with Chinese and Indian, and be safe and deal with the world's markets in a beautiful area, I recommend Singapore. Great food, safety. I mean, from my hotel in Singapore, in just a couple hours ride into Malaysia, I was able to see a golden monkey. I stopped to an entire village, dozens and dozens of houses on poles in the water. Everybody lives on the water. There's walkways, and I felt how primitive and how remote it seemed to me. And before I left, I walked by, and all I heard was Led Zeppelin coming from one of the huts. So there's a lot of different places. So you can go to Malaysia. You can take a short road by in Indonesia from Singapore. It's a remarkable place.
What about
and Alaska? I really recommend every American. It should be America's Mecca is to go and experience Alaska.
Yeah.
My family was. I didn't go on the Exxon spill up there, but to go to Alaska and to experience it is just hard to explain. We took the cruise and had a wonderful trip. That's another location I recommend highly.
What about, I know it's hard to say what's your favorite meal, but what was your favorite sort of food culture? What's your sort of favorite food culture? I know everybody would probably say Italian, but what would you say?
Well, I've been to Italy, and they have good food. But I have to say that Chinese and Japanese, it's so different to us. The food is so different, and the tastes are so new that I love eating in Singapore. The other thing about Singapore, they have food from all over the world. You can go to a famous Italian restaurant in Singapore, but to get the Chinese food, I can only explain it's the difference between Mexican food and Tex-Mex. This is the real deal there. It's not it's not changed for the public. As corny as it sounds, to have shark fin soup and have hot chili crabs, and one of the best dishes I've ever had. And it sounds a bit primitive, but they have something called drunken prawns, and it's a big glass bowl, and the prawns over there, they're shrimp or prawns. They're about 8 to 9 inches long.
What?
Jeez.
I mean, you can hold it in your hand and bite it. So this bowl, and then you put your favorite double shot of either scotch or tequila or vodka. I happen to, want tequila. They put the glass bowl on it, and they're all scurrying around trying to figure out what the tequila was. And they put this whole thing over an open flame, and it cooks the prawns.
Oh, wow.
And then an older woman comes over. You pay her a few coins, and she rips it all apart, and you have this big, long shrimp that tastes like tequila sitting there, and it is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
You told me a story, I think you were in Corn Island, where somebody came out, you were sitting on the beach, and somebody came out and took your order, and then they went to go catch what you wanted.
Yeah, Little Corn Island is a small island off Corn Island, off the coast of Nicaragua, on the eastern shore, the shore that really hasn't been developed. When the Sandinistas took over, they developed the western shore of Nicaragua. So a lot of locations. I was doing training there for Pertamina for several years and setting up equipment stockpiles because oil companies, what they call oligarchies, and not oil companies, hotels wanted to set up hotels. Well, in Corn Island, when you first got out there, when I got my hotel room, I could see through the shower right to the beach. There was no sewer. When you took a shower, it went to the beach. I could see this crab walking by. I was about 3 feet in the air. And a wonderful, very large woman ran the hotel. And there was about, I'm going to say, 18 to 20 rooms. And because I was doing this training, Pertamina had most of the rooms. And we did the training all day, and I remember putting an anchor down in the water, like 15 feet down. You could see the anchor hit, and all the tiny little fish run in to eat the, whatever was pushed up on the anchor. How clean and beautiful it was.
Yeah.
And I learned what what they would call their little baby is Flor de Caña, and it's the flower of the cane. It's incredibly good rum. So we're on the leeward side of the island. I think we were out there for 3 hours, standing in the water, very calm. A couple of guys that I've been working with all day, I'd see them climbing to get coconuts, and we'd be drinking. And the owner, this elderly woman came out, and she said, it's getting late. We'd like to make you all dinner. There's no place to eat unless you're at the Corn Island. And so, we gave what we wanted. I wanted Cordova fish. And then I saw her son coming out with a spear gun. And he went diving and snorkeling, and he came back with a bag filled with the fish that the 6 or 7 of us had ordered.
That's awesome.
And then each of us got a big plate with all roasted vegetables and peeled fruit and this big fish. I don't remember what it was, but it was only about $15 each. If you want remote and you want to go on vacation, Little Corn Island. What?
Nothing.
Oh,
Didn't say anything.
yeah, Little Corn Island is the place to go.
That's awesome.
And it was really weird there. They have a very large fish processing plant. And I believe it's Japanese, where they bring the fish in and they crush it down and they freeze it into these little wafers. And if you're up early in the morning, you hear the bell. It's not like a church bell. And I don't mean to be wise guy, but it's like the March of the Pod people. All these locals come out wearing white boots and carrying a white coffee cup going to work.
Huh.
And then the corn would go off, and they'd all be walking home with the white boots, and it just was interesting to see.
Do we have any more listener questions?
That's it for the listener questions.
I think that's it. I think we covered all of it. We'll probably have you back on because there's no way we could go over I almost said 40, almost aged you a little bit, a 30-year traveling career in 80 minutes.
No, I think you did well.
I think that's it.
All right, well, thanks.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That was great. Thank you.
Well, I've enjoyed your show. Continued luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good one.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was really cool.
I feel like I just traveled around the world.
For real. For real. Definitely one of our better podcasts, I would have to say. Very interesting. Get to hear a lot about the different cultures of the world. That's one of my favorite things about traveling, is just being able to see different cultures, being able to see that you're not the only person. You got a whole globe of people that are different. They act different. They do things differently than people in America, and you get to see that, which I think is extremely cool, extremely eye-opening, and in a way, I believe that you are more intelligent if you know how other people act, if you know how other people do their thing, and if you know why people look at things the way they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to understand other people's culture, and just because they do it different doesn't make it right or wrong. They just do it different.
Exactly. I do what to say.
What do you want to do, headlines?
Yeah, we do have some headlines.
Well, first, I want to start with, how are you?
I'm great.
Okay. Let's do that. I had to do that. I do that every time.
You ask me how I am every time, and I'm pretty sure it's the same answer.
How are you?
But I think